Hello. Here are three words I think most Tories and neoliberals don't like to hear. Workers, rights, victory. Workers' rights, victory. Put those words together, I think it terrifies them. That anyone should have rights for them is bad enough, but that workers should have rights and they should even win a victory to gain these rights. Well, that's really bad enough, isn't it? But they did. Here is the good news. Uber drivers win victory to be treated as workers and have rights. That's going to upset a few Tories, isn't it? Going to upset a few of the free enterprise kind. In fact, they've already been on BBC Radio 4 Question Time, very much along the lines of, well, they're not 0 hours contracts, it's flexible. We like flexible. One guy, in fact, was just saying, and he was making this as a very serious argument. Look, you've got the car sitting outside there. You're not doing anything with it. If you just like to go on the computer and go and pick up a person and transport them from A to B, you should have the flexibility to do that. Don't you love it? Yep, flexible contracts. Not 0 hours contracts. And in fact, probably with Uber, not even the idea of a contract at all. Yeah. Isn't it great, yes, that we have new software and computer systems and the technology available whereby we can actually exploit and use resources that may actually genuinely be sitting doing nothing. That's fine. But there are, of course, going to be costs involved with insurance, petrol and things like that. But one, of course, would hope that the taxi driver for Uber, of course, is recompense for those costs in the payment made by their customer, and their valuable work and effort is thereby rewarded financially. But I think this whole thing goes back to something much deeper. Something that is against free market, neoliberalism, capitalism. I think the idea has always been that to allow workers or employees or whatever basic protection, basic rights such as the Uber drivers will now qualify for, like sick pay and holidays, and who knows, maybe even some kind of healthcare system that Uber may be prepared to bring in. I don't know. Yeah, but I think at the centre of neoliberal capitalism, there is a desire not to have what employers, and let's face it, in this case, the way it's now been ruled, Uber will be seen as an employer with whom you can contract. Yeah. I think at the basis of neoliberalism there is a desire for employers to not have any duty of care to those who work for them. Think about it. When the first weaving loom, or whatever, was installed in some factory in Yorkshire somewhere, or something like that, and it were an undershafter and overshaft mill, do you think that the employer who put it into the factory and got these people, probably who normally lived on the land or worked as farmers to work it, do you think they were that interested in guarding fingers, hands, thumbs, arms against getting trapped in spinning machinery? Do you actually think that of the goodness of their own heart, the kindness of their own heart, the compassion towards these little children that darted in and out the machines to get the little bits of thread that came off, or when the shuttle had been lost or something, or to clean the dust. Do you think that Arkwright, or whoever he was such a good living Christian gentleman that he decided to guard those machines as a matter of Christian conscience and duty? No chance. The only reason these scum have ever done anything is through the actions of trade unions, pushing for health and safety laws, and through the government being forced into a position where they have to make legislation to protect people. And what's the government all on about now? Don't want legislation in the workplace. Oh, legislation. Oh, can't have that. Small government. Small government. Tiny, tiny little bit of government. But massive corporate control. Small government, big money controls. Big money making more money from somebody else. I mean, legislate for safety regulations and whatever, but do you think the government are going to bother about that? Do you really and truly think that in its heart of hearts, no matter what decision the courts face this government with, do you think they want a system whereby people should be paid for being sick? Whereby they should have a right to time off? Whereby they could dictate hours? Even if they could dictate hours, it could still work, but nonetheless, do you think they want this victory? They're gonna crow against it for ages. They hate it. And again, yet again, this is an example of what neoliberalism and capitalism does. An opportunity comes along, sure, it's an opportunity for a business, it's an opportunity for an employer, it's an opportunity for somebody to provide a service. Of course, that's fine, that's great, yep. But they'll get the best deal out of providing that service for as little as possible, and anyone who provides it on their behalf will be left to take all of the risks. Every single thing that could go wrong will be left upon their shoulders. They pay maximum. They risk maximum. The provider stroke employer risks nothing. Tell me what you think about that one. Do you think it's a good idea that the Uber drivers have won what I consider to be this landmark victory? And tell me what you think about that in terms of this emerging way of working with new technology and jobs, genuinely, opportunities, perhaps not jobs, genuinely created through our accessibility to technology. I'd be interested to have some comments on that. Thanks for listening.